woke up in a cold sweat, and the reason why it was such a bad dream is I came downstairs from my bedroom. This is all happening in my dream. I go downstairs. I don't see anybody. There's no couches. There's no TV. The place is empty.
Not
It
even your
doesn't.
computer?
It doesn't really look like my house, but it's my house. You know how in dreams things are funny like that, right? And then all of a sudden, dog, like I see one person outside that I know, and it's Yasmin, right?
Me?
My wife's in the street. There's a moving truck in the circle,
Huh?
like on the street by the mulch and the rocks.
Huh?
And there's people around like that I don't know. And I look over and Yasmin's counting money, bro. She's counting stacks of money. And I said, Yasmin, what happened? And she's like, I sold the house on eBay. I'm out.
What? I sold the house.
Welcome everybody to
woke up,
another.
bro.
Welcome everyone that's coming into another episode of SMT Podcast. To start off the show, we got to hear a dream, a psychedelic dream from Mr. Sneed himself. We got a moose sighting over here and a wild Yasmin in the background. So Sneed, why don't you tell the fine folks what we're actually going to be talking about today?
Bro,
How
Yasmin.
much money did I get? in your
I don't know. It was a money stack about that big. It was huge.
So
all right.
it's 2,000.
It was like Johnny Manziel's money phone, if you guys
2,000?
remember that. Yeah, it was 2,000. Yeah. What we're gonna talk about is the Ookla Speed Test
What's
Awards.
Ookla?
Yasmin.
What's your clap?
Dennis, you tell them. I gotta handle something real quick.
All right, I gotcha. So, what's up, everyone that's coming in? Baby Yoda, good to see you. Steven Smith, good to see you as well. Tech Guy, Jose, Cesar Gonzalez, and Troy. I'm stealing the show tonight because we are going to be talking about the Ookla reports that came in for this quarter. And boy, am I excited because we got some spicy, interesting results on the fixed broadband side and the mobile side. We're also going to be talking about how T-Mobile is the fastest in 5G. And then we're probably going to add in a few spicy takes from Moose himself. And I'm sure I'll have my own spicy takes, and I'm sure I'll derail the conversation somewhere with cable talk, as I'm becoming notorious for on this channel.
As Ricky would say, it's the cable hour.
Cable hour with Dennis. Yo, HBO, if you're watching, pick me up, okay?
That's right, bro. All right, man.
I'm watching you too while I draw.
Moose, good to have you. Dennis, thank you for coming
Oh, yeah.
on. It's a pleasure. What we're gonna do is we'll start first with the Ookla Speed Test awards and report. So I'm gonna do a screen share first,
Is that
and let's see, make sure.
Can
I
we
actually
jump
keep this-
right to the fixed broadband part of it? Because I was really
Yeah, sure.
confused.
Yeah. We could
Because honestly,
definitely
the
do that.
wireless side didn't surprise me, but the fixed broadband did.
I got you, buddy. We'll definitely do that. Ookla. I'm looking for the.
Ookla?
There it is. Okay. All right. So pay no mind to. Well, the way you want to look at it, Dennis, is median or mean. I tend to like mean because it's the average. Median kind of gives you that middle point, but do you have a preference?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
To be honest, my math skills, I always get confused with median and mean. So yeah, sure. Doesn't matter. Also, if you could pop a link real quick in there, that'd be great in the private chat.
All right. So we are in fixed. Okay. Copy this for you, Dennis. Is this thing sharing yet? Oh, I got to let it in here. Okay.
So just to FYI, the mean is the average, right? Adding
Yes.
up all the numbers and then dividing by the numbers, right? How
Correct.
many there were. The median is literally the middle of all the data set. So it's the middle.
Gotcha.
All right. So there's the link for the rest of the live chat. Here's one for you, Dennis, in the background here. Okay.
I appreciate you.
No problem. Okay, so we're going to start with fixed providers. All right, this is as of March 20, 2022. So this would be Q1. All right. And oh, this is interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so according to this data, Ookla's got it as just identified as fastest providers, and this is fixed providers. They've got the median download speed by megabits per second, and it is Verizon taking the crown and Xfinity right behind them. Then we have Cox, then we have Spectrum, then AT&T, and lastly we have CenturyLink. And CenturyLink is so far back, they're almost not even worth the mention because AT&T all the way up, we're over 100 megabits, and then Verizon's they're pretty far ahead. They're they're up about 5 megabits per second on Xfinity, coming in at number 2. So, first of all, what do you think about that list, Dennis? And do you think it's meaningful? And kind of what's your takeaway on that, man?
So I definitely think the list is meaningful, and I was actually very surprised. The reason why I was specifically surprised about the results is because it's only looking at download speeds, and as we know, cable companies tend to both over provision and sell higher speed data plans for download speed specifically than Verizon Fios and Fios markets, with the exception of New York, where they started offering the 2 gig fiber service. So I was actually surprised that Verizon was able to take the lead, like a positive surprise, because I know Comcast's slowest download speed tier they offer now is, well, their slowest tier is 50, but the one that's always on promo is 300, and it's really like 360. And I know their highest tier is like 1400 down. So that's what ended up surprising me, considering how much of their footprint has access to that, especially considering, too, that Verizon still has a lot of DSL footprint that I thought would have brought down the result a little bit. So that's why I was surprised about Verizon taking the crown in a positive way. I was also surprised by the CenturyLink results, mainly because I know CenturyLink sold off a lot of their DSL to that third-party firm that we discussed. So I thought CenturyLink at this point was pretty lean, with either mostly fiber footprint or places where they do have DSL being the high-speed dual-bonded VDSL. And I was actually expecting their speeds to be more comparable to where AT&T was sitting.
Moose, what's your take on this, man? All this data right here.
Yeah, I mean, if we're aggregating everybody, right? Every single customer of the ISPs. I mean, it's interesting, right? We talked about this outside of the show. Very few people probably have gotten the 5 gig or the 2 gig or even the 1 gig upgrade. So the Fios customers and all the other providers that have those higher speed tiers probably aren't doing speed tests all the time. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting.
I'm not really sure like how meaningful these averages are. Like I get it, higher is better, and that's just a metric of people, enjoying the higher, faster speeds. But like for a company like Verizon, which I think in a majority of cases, like they're offering a lot of fiber, right? Most of that is Fios, obviously. And
you
then
are mistaken. Most of Fios' internet customers are not on the Fios product. The majority of Verizon customers are still using DSL.
Yeah, but what is their typical DSL speed then?
1.5 to 3 megabits per second.
So then how do you explain this, Dennis?
That's why I said I was surprised. I don't know. That's why I was saying I was surprised.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I'm kind of shocked how they calculated those averages. Like did they include the DSL?
To be clear, you're looking at median, just to clarify.
Right, but to have a majority DSL customers, this doesn't even make sense. I don't think they counted DSL, man. That's just,
well. Then how do you explain CenturyLink if they didn't?
I know, and how do you explain AT&T, which offers 1 gig fiber, 2 gig fiber, 5 gig fiber?
Well,
you see how this is the most convoluted. Like I can make sense out of the mobility side. This one's tough.
Well, circling back though, I think there is 2 key takeaways that are exciting. And you ready for them?
Mm-hmm.
1, fixed wired services are getting faster in the US.
Right.
2, Verizon clearly has been putting in work across their footprint to actually improve speeds and meet or exceed what they're marketing to consumers. Right. Both very big wins here. Also, I see some comments coming in. People are talking about how there's not an upload and reliability. Actually, if we scroll down just a little bit.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. So right below this, we're going to see a latency tab. And this I actually found really surprising because of you, Sneed. If we look at the provider that offers the lowest latency with the exception of Verizon, it's Cox. Cox Cable. is the one that's offering the lowest latency.
Yeah, here's the latency results here. Calculating median latency for top fixed broadband providers. Remember, this is Q1 2022, so the latest data. Verizon, lowest latency at 8 millisecond. Cox was number 2, then AT&T.
And Xfinity
Xfinity
were
tied for
tied.
3rd. CenturyLink at 5, and then Spectrum at 6th. All right, so I'm shocked that Spectrum's that bad. I thought Spectrum was going to crack the top 3, actually. But, I mean, they're pretty close, because if you look at it, Spectrum 16 and AT&T is 14. That's not much degrees of separation. But
Yeah, but if we
surprisingly,
compare
Verizon, because you've talked about the peer the peer agreements that they have in place for, like, you know, their latency, how it gave you trouble and stuff like that. So, like, some of this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, so there's a few things I want to touch on here. One is I'm surprised AT&T's latency is not more comparable to Verizon, considering that AT&T especially has a ton of fiber and they're a tier 1 backbone provider to boot. I'm actually surprised it's as high as it is. As far as Verizon goes, I'm surprised that it's as low as it is, but not necessarily at the same time, because I know that Verizon has a lot of their own servers. And if you're running a speed test to a Verizon server,
Oh, you're golden, right?
yeah, you're not dealing with peering agreements because you're staying within the internal Verizon network.
All right.
So, plus, if you remember too, Sneed, once my stuff got fixed, I think I talked to you about this, but my ping times have come down now that my stuff's been fixed. But anyway, I was surprised by the AT&T results by this and the Cox results. Cox, because, you know, everybody, you, Carlos, everybody talks about how bad Cox is, yet they have the lowest ping of the cable operators. And I was surprised by AT&T being as high as it is, considering that they're primarily fiber-based at this point.
Well, Cox does do fiber, from what I understand. I wonder if that helped out their score quite a bit.
Yeah, but their fiber build is very small in proportion to their actual cable network
footprint. Right. Moose, jump in, man. What do you think?
Well, you know, like I was saying to the Cha-Cha here, fiber is very unique because in all my time, right, that I've had it, my latency to the Ookla speed test server has gone down dramatically, right? It started off at like 9, now it's at 3, right? So these tests change over time, right? Even within the same year. But as more and more people get faster speeds, right, these averages are going to drastically change. And also, as more and more people get off of DSL to fixed home wireless, or even VDSL to fixed home wireless, or other means like fiber or even cable, these averages are going to drastically change. But what's the average for Spectrum?
Spectrum came in at 16.
Well, that's the median.
That's the median. So
I'll say this, and I'll say this is a pretty good baseline for pretty much all of cable. Your typical ping times are going to fall somewhere between 9 and 14 milliseconds for typical cable, and exceptional cable will be between 6 and 9. These are pretty generic, but stay true.
Yeah, but that doesn't reflect this.
I'm just saying those are the typical things that you see with any cable provider, just broad stroke. Well,
then they're not really doing a good job, because their median is on the high end of that. So I'd say they're underachieving by Dennis's standards.
I would say so.
So this would be all the variables that come into play, right? This would be all the extra stuff that goes into operating a solid network, you know. So
I mean, my guess, if you want to know what my guess is that Spectrum probably has a lot of areas where, from the merger, from like Time Warner and everything, they probably have a lot of areas where they haven't done upgrades yet. And so they'll probably have like a node and like legit like 6 to 8 amps just connecting all those different customers. And having all those amps does add a little bit of latency each time. And it adds up. Comcast, for example, Comcast has been doing upgrades. Most places that I've seen are node +3 or less. And for example, Pittsburgh's node +0, hence the reason why my ping times are like 6 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds with Comcast, because I'm close to the fiber.
All right,
But-
guys, I just pulled up the consistency scores.
Yeah, that was also a little bit surprising to me. Would
Okay.
you have guessed that cable would be the most consistent?
It's not.
It is. Xfinity is the most
it's not.
consistent provider on that list.
It's not. It doesn't mean that it's cable. All right, so here's something we got to note. We don't know if this includes all the DSL that some of these providers have. All right. What I do know is CenturyLink is awful. This is a horrible metric. CenturyLink at 57.4. That is a complete outlier. It's almost like they don't even belong, bro. Look at that. That's horrible. Everybody else is over 80% consistency score. So AT&T, second last, came in at 80%. Cox, 84%. Verizon, 89.4%. Spectrum, 90.3%. And then Xfinity, 90.6%. To me, these top three are meaningful because they separate themselves from the rest of the competition. So Xfinity, Spectrum, and Verizon coming in at or around the 90% mark for consistency. Cox and AT&T far behind the leaders there. All right, Moose, what's your take on the consistency scores there, buddy?
Yeah, it's very interesting again, right? That when we look at the top two are cable, which we know that there is also a consistency in customer service complaints about cable, because I know a lot of customers always complain, I don't get the reliable speeds I'm advertised as, right? Like if I'm getting charged for 200 or 400 or a gig, I'm not even getting close, even if it's wired. That's one complaint.
So, Moose, you bring up a good point. Is how are they measuring the consistency?
Right. Exactly.
What variables are they testing for? Is it like it actually gives you the speeds that are advertised, like your plan?
Right. Or is it just that you're connected?
How much downtime? Yeah, exactly. Is there downtime involved?
Right.
And this conflicts with what we know about customer performance reports like the JD Power. Customers on JD Power love the Verizon Fios and love AT&T Fiber. And on JD Power, you never see Xfinity and Spectrum or Cox for the approval rating from customers.
Hey, so Sneed, I can answer your question about the consistency score and how it's measured.
Oh, go ahead, man.
So consistency score for fixed broadband uses the threshold of 25 megabits per second minimum download speed, the recommended speed for streaming 4K, and 3 megabits per second upload speed. Basically, if cable's able to offer that,
or fiber, or
that is for fixed. That is for this. Mobile is a different metric, but basically TLDR is if a provider can achieve a speed test of 25/3, it goes towards that. If they drop below that, they failed.
How could these scores be this low? If that's the metric, that sounds like a mobility metric.
It's not the mobility metric. I'm looking at that as well as 5x1. I will copy and paste the parts that matter. Here, I'll copy and paste this into the private chat, just the segment that matters. Boop, paste, boom. I did not copy the whole thing. It's fine. Here, I'll put the
consistency score is the metric we use to identify fixed broadband mobile networks to provide a consistent quality of service. Okay.
But the metric is 25/3. So if you fell below 25/3, you failed. Anything above that, you passed. It's like,
don't you think these scores are kind of low, Dennis?
Yes.
Shouldn't they be like 99.9?
Yes and no. So Moose brought up something about how people call in consistently talking about how they don't get their speeds and stuff like that.
Right.
I know I'm gonna get a lot of people mad in the comments when I say this, but from experience, when I had that IT job and dealt with people, I'm gonna say about 75 to 80% of the time, probably user error, not the ISP. And by user error is the wrong term here, but when I say user issue,
it's stuff.
No, in general, I'm talking about.
No.
So you don't think it's hardware related, router, gateway?
I think it's for Comcast, man.
I'm talking about for everybody, CenturyLink included. The
reason why I bring it up is because Spectrum in Southern California has significant issues at their drops, and then once it gets distributed to their street level, therein lies the problem. So they have consistent outages in certain streets because they don't want to properly upgrade the network there. So that's one thing.
I'm being broad. I'm giving the benefit to all ISPs when I say this. I'm saying like 75 to 80% of the time, including like T-Mobile Home Internet. I'm saying 75 to 80% of the time, it's probably a personal issue, not the actual ISP. Because a lot of times when people do their speed tests, they're doing it over Wi-Fi, which there's a lot of factors that impact Wi-Fi performance, especially when we start talking about higher speeds like gig. And also, there's the device variable. There are still devices out there in the wild that do not have gigabit NICs. I know you don't believe me, but there are literally people out there that are using computers that have an Ethernet port that caps out at 100 meg, which with the overhead is like 90 meg max speed test possible when hardwired. Or there's people that are testing their speeds on their Roku, which has a some Rokus only have like 2.4 gigahertz channel for the Wi-Fi and like 100
right. Yeah. Right.
But
again,
that's a good point.
What I'm talking about is when the outage or the issue is at the network level and the provider doesn't want to fix it. And from my experience with Spectrum, they've had these issues. That's why I'm like, Comcast and CenturyLink, you have the experience on. Clearly, they have a better network and have it fixed the issues because Spectrum just literally doesn't care in certain areas.
I don't have the experience on CenturyLink, but Comcast I do know. But I was giving benefit of the doubt to all ISPs because I do think the scores are rather low based off the benchmark that's being set for determining consistency. In fact, going back to that consistency score, I'm going to say this again. I am surprised that Xfinity actually did rank the highest based off of that score. I really am. I mean that sincerely. I mean, Verizon is fiber after all, right? Same thing with AT&T.
Absolutely. The next metric we'll take a look at, this is kind of like regional scoring or regional performance. We were looking here at areas of like statewide reach. Wyoming once again had the slowest median download speed in the US at 70 megabits. Montana was next slowest. Lacking the fiber infrastructure clearly is making a difference. They don't really have cable, probably. Also, New Mexico, Alaska, and Vermont also rounded it out as some of the slower places. In terms of the faster places, New York was number 2, New Jersey number 1, Rhode Island at 3, Maryland at 4, and Delaware at 5. So along the eastern seaboard, some of the more populated states, things are looking pretty good.
Sneed, before you look, where do you think your state fell?
I don't know, man. There's a lot of rural parts of Ohio, so I tend to think like we're probably somewhere in the middle of the road, like 2025 or something like that.
You literally couldn't have been more spot on. You fall at 24.
Yeah,
with your fastest provider in your state being Spectrum.
Yeah, that's true. They've been doing this the longest in Ohio from a high speed standpoint. AT&T has been DSL for the longest, right? They're just now starting to do fiber. So no shock. Spectrum has been here doing it. Back before it was Time Warner, right? It was, and so they've got the cable in place for a long time. I'm looking at some of these other measures here. Xfinity was the fastest provider in 13 states. Spectrum the fastest in 6 states. Cox and Verizon both had 4 states. Google Fiber the fastest in 3 states. I don't even know how many states Google Fiber is in, but essentially wherever they go, they're going to be the fastest. AT&T and MetroNet were each fastest in 2 states. Allo, C-Spire, EPB, Frontier, GCI, Ori Telephone, Co-op, and then Sparklight and Starry are both in there. Oh, USI. They're all in there too. Sure, Yasmin, go ahead. I know. Yes.
This is the by the way, important point to bring up here real quick. This is the first time that Frontier actually comes up on this list, if you noticed it, Sneed. Frontier wasn't even in discussion for the download speed metric, consistency, or anything else. This is the first time they came up on the list.
Yeah, I wonder why they weren't mentioned before. I mean, if they're big enough to be on this list, why aren't they on the other one?
Side note, by the way, because I gotta throw it in there. Pennsylvania fell in at 19th place, so we're
very similar states, I think. And we forgot to do Santiago's super chat, actually, man. Let me go back to that.
Sure.
Big shout out to Santiago, the super sticker with the hippo going really fast in a chair, propelling the chair across the room. Thanks, Santiago, and welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Thanks very much for the super chat. And then there was one more. It just came in from Big John, I believe. Big John, welcome, my friend. He said, where is my state Texas ranked? Look, can we get the Texas ranking for Big John Tech Reviews?
Absolutely.
8.
He comes in at number 8 with AT&T being the fastest in his state.
Oh, no shock there. Tejas, the land of the Death Star. AT&T. How about, so New Jersey, far and away, number 1. With media, and they got the median upload too. They're up there. They're like second fastest for that. Look, they're ranked very highly, and it's Verizon. And then New York, it's Verizon. Rhode Island, it's Verizon. So the top 3, all Verizon, all East Coast. It's got to be the fiber dog.
It is, but don't you find it surprising that the uploads are still so disparately low?
What is the business with that, man?
Well, I just say that I'm only saying that considering the fact that Verizon is the fastest provider, and Verizon is generally speaking pretty ubiquitously known in those 3 states. Isn't it odd that the upload is still as low as it is?
We're actually, I think this is kind of eye-opening. Like, it goes to show you that stuff just isn't right when it comes to wireline. You would think, okay, well, Dennis, we've had the conversation. Fixed wireless, the DSL, satellite, they can't compare to fiber and cable. But here we are looking at the deficiencies in fiber and cable because these metrics don't show far superiority. We're seeing cable competing with fiber in this. and we're seeing fiber doesn't have a leg up over any particular technology, which doesn't make any sense because we know what fiber can do. If you want gigabit symmetrical, it's at your fingertips.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, Moose.
I think I figured it out. Why to the disparity? Number 1, there's not enough fiber out there yet. Number 2, there's not enough people doing speed tests on their fiber.
Oh, through the Ookla app because it's crowdsourced.
Through Ookla,
right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I also want to touch on something important, though. It goes back to what you said about cable competing with fiber. Really quickly, I want to touch on that. I've said this before, and I will repeat it again, but the fiber that we, the consumer, get to interact with, by its design and how it's being deployed, is actually very close to cable, right? The bandwidth still
as opposed to the enterprise grade fiber, grade.
Right. Like the bandwidth is still getting shared. And I just want to say that I would say for the majority of Americans, you're actually going to find that there's a lot of fiber providers that are out there that are offering asymmetrical speed. Going to your favorite provider, Cox, a lot of places where Cox offers fiber, they do asymmetrical speeds, gig down, 100 up. There's also a lot of smaller fiber providers like a Hickory Telephone or Insert X that offers like gig down and like 50 up. They just arbitrarily limit it. So I feel like that also has an impact on why cable's able to compete even today.
Do you notice that if you scroll down in this regional speeds, right? The top 10.
Look at Alabama.
The top 10 latency doesn't crack single digits until you get to North Dakota at 39. They crack 9. So we still have a latency issue, even in New York City. Because if you keep scrolling down, if you go to New York City, okay,
the actual city level?
Yeah, the actual city level. If you go to New York City, New York doesn't break under 10.
Are we talking about median download or are you talking about latency?
Latency, man. Latency is critical. We've talked about this so many times.
I can't access latency.
What are you talking about?
It's on the right-hand side right beside upload.
Oh, it's on the same list. Oh no. Okay, I got it.
It's right there. It's the third column. It's the third column right there.
Okay, latency number 1 is Kansas City. I see some Georgia, some Texas. Where's New York City?
New York is number 14 on the list.
It's it's 10 milliseconds. I mean, number 1 is 6 milliseconds. So
No,
they're
what
not
I'm saying
separated by too
is
much. They're separated by,
regionally, it doesn't crack below single digits, right? Except in North Dakota. If you go into like the city level, right? If I look at the top cities, right, in terms of population, New York City does not crack single digits. Where's LA? Got to look at LA. Hold on. Los Angeles.
we're like the
13.
we're terribly ranked here in Cleveland. We're at 21 milliseconds.
So there's two things I want to say real quick, Sneed. Touching on what Moose was talking about with New York should have the lowest latency in the country because that's where.
Yes.
Well, hear me out on the reason why. New York should have the lowest latency in the country because they are a fiber hub for everything.
Exactly.
Every data center is there. There's
I know. Look at Philly. Philly's down here in the middle, towards the bottom.
But Pittsburgh has a 9 latency. We have a lower latency than New York.
Yep, on the middle, the median. Yeah.
Which is kind of the advantage of these connections. Like when you get good cable, and you get fiber, you're supposed to have excellent latency. You're supposed to be sub 10, sub 5, and here we are.
Yep. So yeah, there's a very interesting, man.
Apparently, Verizon is the provider to beat because their latency is good in these places where they do well. The download speed. How about this? Louisville, Kentucky, Lincoln, Nebraska. Places where you just wouldn't think like they would be performing this well, but they've got the best median download speeds. El Paso, Texas, they're up there too. Nashville. I mean,
well, I'll answer your question on that. Allo, their fastest ISP in the place that you mentioned, over in Nebraska, that's a co-op ISP. That's public, sweet, municipal fiber. So of course that fiber is great.
All right, man. Let's take a look at Uplink. Let's see how that's doing. The best uplink is in Kansas City, Mizzou, 96 megabits per second, Google Fiber. Jersey City, 93, and then all of a sudden, like, falls off the face of the earth. We go from 93 to 66. So really, it's Kansas City and Jersey City, and then everybody else. Pittsburgh, PA, 40 megabit. They're in the top 10.
Yeah.
Oakland has a provider called Sonic.
I've heard of them. They're also out west in Seattle, I believe, as well.
Holy crap, bro. They got an average of 270. That's really high.
Yeah, they're a fiber provider.
All right, so Durham, North Carolina for AT&T is killing it. Irvine, California, Google Fiber. Yep. Irving, Texas for AT&T. AT&T's, they're top 5 cities, bro. Top 6. They're all over the top 10. Frisco's got a place.
I've never heard of WebPass.
Yeah, I was going to say Frisco's got a provider called WebPass. Houston's got a provider called Tachus. I don't even know. Let's find the crazy.
I just looked up WebPass. It's Google Fiber. Google Fiber is
Google Fiber just doing business as.
Yeah, it's if you look up WebPass, it takes you to your website, webpass.net/metros, and it's literally Google Fiber WebPass in the top left-hand corner.
I can't believe Cox is even in here. This is crazy. They're such trash, bro. Rocket Fiber in Detroit, Michigan. Wave in Seattle. Buckeye Cable System in Toledo. Oh, snap.
So I got to give it up to Durham.
Armstrong's not in there.
I got to give it up to Durham.
Stop running.
I got to give it up to Durham.
Got to give it up to Durham, Moose. That's right.
Yeah. Providers median download, AT&T, top.
Hey, real quick, since you're back at the top of that screen, what was last year's fixed broadband score? Wasn't it like 180?
I don't know, man.
Because I think we saw like a good solid like 20% increase year over year, which is pretty astounding.
Hey, let's talk about globally how we're doing in fixed broadband. How about Singapore at 198 megabits?
Well, we're terrible globally, man.
We're number 8.
That's not terrible. Number 8's
Yeah,
pretty
we're
decent.
top. But thinking about our money, like we're a country that has wealth.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
man.
it's like here's how I look at it. Right, here's a country like Thailand, which is not the U.S. Chile, Singapore, like okay, Denmark. I get Denmark, you know, but like, come on, man. We talk about competing with China. You know, here's Spain coming in there. There's Macau. Like, come on, man. Monaco. There's no reason for some of these countries to be ahead of us. Hong Kong, dog. Like,
Well,
I mean, it's better than our
I
mobile
feel like
performance.
we should be in the top 3. If I'm setting a
well,
standard for our country, I think we should be in the top 3.
I mean, it's better than our mobile performance, Sneed. Our mobile performance
our
we're all
mobile
the way
is
down at
trash.
23rd, bro.
Yeah, Dennis is right. Look at that. We barely
We
cracked
went
the top
down a
25.
rank. We literally went down a rank since last year.
Bro, can we? Who is North Macedonia, dog? Isn't there just one Macedonia? Now we got North Macedonia.
oh shit!
I know, man. Seriously,
Uh,
what is this? Where is Brunei? Who is Brunei?
Brunei.
Is that a place?
Yeah,
Dude,
it's not good.
Can I say something that will probably make you mad, Sneed, but it's the truth? When it comes to the internet in the US, I would say we're very similar to India. And by that I mean we have
East, dog. The Middle East is destroying us, dog. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar. Come on, man. United Arab Emirates is number 1 globally.
Yeah, but by that, what I was saying was by us being similar to India, what I mean is we have a bunch of cities where speeds keep getting faster and faster, but the people that are getting left behind are never getting any of the high speed goodness. Also, we got a super chat in from Santiago that I feel like we should call out real quick.
Hey, Santiago, thank you, man. A rep from Sonic let me know that they're reselling AT&T DSL and fiber in my area. Not sure how accurate that is, but that's what I was told. So that would explain them maybe having access to fiber. They're like a reseller of some sort. Yeah, man, I get it. The oil nation's got money. I get it. But we're the great land of America, aren't we?
Can you do on average, Sneed, instead of the median?
Also, Steve, don't forget to unhighlight a comment so that people can see when you're done reading it.
Oh, okay. All right, so we just switched it to
the average, aka the mean. I love it. It changes everything.
Yeah, now you got freaking Monaco again coming in. Bro, this is not. Is that really a country?
Yes, it's in Europe.
Yeah,
I know but isn't that where they do the formula racing or whatever?
I don't know it that well, but it's in Europe.
I feel like it is, man. And I'm pretty sure that they filmed like Iron Man 2 over there. Remember the Russian dude with the bird?
It's a city state, bro. It's a city state. Yeah.
This is ridiculous. How they even ranking them? All right, fine, whatever.
Well, Sneed, I just want to say one thing in the U.S.'s defense. A lot of the countries that always make it top of the charts every single year are literally like the size of like a singular city in the U.S.
Bro, who is Liechtenstein? What is this?
European country again.
Where?
Tiny country. Tiny.
Tiny. Well, where, dog?
But check this out. If you look at the wireless, the mobile global performance on the average mean, again, South Korea, man, SKT, KT, and LGU Plus, man, they're killing it.
Bro, Luxembourg is a country?
UAE is killing it, man.
Okay, Luxembourg is right by the Netherlands. They're a sick country.
Yeah, but these places are so tiny. It's not even fair. It doesn't even make any sense.
By the way, if we're going to catch up to China on the wireless performance, we have to add 32 Mbps on average.
All right, we got
for all we know, China's fudging the numbers. For all we know,
yeah,
it's possible.
I got a super chat here. This one is from Darian. Appreciate it, man. Sonic resells AT&T copper, uses their own fiber. To the best of my knowledge, they operate out of AT&T's companies. I'm in the Bay Area. Okay, so there is some kind of relationship.
It's CO's central office.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay, all right. Shall we switch to the mobile side?
Absolutely.
All
But
right.
TLDR, before you switch to the mobile side, what is your overall hot take? Do you give fixed broadband a pass? Are you satisfied with your fixed broadband need, or what's your take?
I don't understand how some of these scores were so low. It's just shocking. I don't know. There must be a lot of variables that we don't have access to that they get in their data, and a lot of tests, like you said, that are user related or hardware related or failures or something. And I don't know. However,
Also,
and
Sneed, unhighlight the comment because every time you have a comment up, it makes the tiny screen. There you go. There you go.
yeah, I don't know, man. It's just unusual. I guess I'd like to see something more concrete instead of crowdsourced. I mean, I like crowdsourced because you get tons of data, but it doesn't address these types of things.
Too many variables. For all we know, someone has a freaking N, like a router that only has like wireless N standard to it.
Exactly.
Honestly, what would be legit? This is just a hot take. I think it would be super legit if there was if the government literally like paid people to allow them to set up their own monitoring equipment so they could both do ping tests, do trace routes, can measure uptime, and packet drop rates, like actual hard statistics with like government equipment that's across the board to actually take the measurements. I feel like that would be good for actually making accurate maps about the state of broadband so that the government funds could be even more accurately distributed, because there's a big push for rural focuses, but as we touched on, there are plenty of places, cities included, like Detroit, where internet availability both is poor and the internet that is available is also not in good quality. What do you think, Moose?
I'd love it, but what would be even better, that they would already have this possible with the existing equipment, right? So we don't have to like make our own. I feel like just like South Korea, right? Everything's public, right? They have all these statistics from their equivalent of the FCC. I would love a day, right, for the FCC to know everything that's happening in the United States in terms of like what you just mentioned, right? All the KPIs. Like I'm looking at the market analysis Q1 report, right, for mobile, and the S22 Ultra has the fastest median download, medium upload, and the lowest latency. That's something important, right, for customers. Unfortunately, is it going to ever beat the iPhone in the United States in terms of market share? Probably never, because Apple just has that big of a monopoly already. But it is something relevant, right? Like it's the lowest latency and it has the best speeds.
You guys ready for the mobile side?
Go ahead and hit us.
All right, here's the mobile side. T-Mobile, the fastest mobile operator in the U.S. during Q1 2022, median download speed of 118 megabits, essentially. This is all based on modern chipsets, so maybe they threw out some of the old devices that they didn't want to include. By modern, I don't know. Does that mean within the last 2 years? Not sure. Verizon overtook AT&T for second place. AT&T finished third. Okay, so looking at these numbers, T-Mobile at 118, Verizon at 62, and then AT&T at 56. Clearly, this is a function of the 5G network situation. T-Mobile has the spectrum. They've had time to build it out in terms of their 5G network. The N41, the 5G UC is making a difference, clearly. What do I expect to happen in the near future? I think Verizon with C-band, with N77, they're going to probably catapult. In fact, next quarter, I would expect this average to probably go up by 15 to 20%, if not more, maybe 25%. I would expect by the end of the year, the gap to close even further. In fact, it might even be identical. I think T-Mobile and Verizon will be very close. And then I think AT&T comes up too. But clearly the N41, the 5G UC is making a big difference here. What do you think, Dennis?
I definitely concur with what you said. 5G UC is clearly having an impact on the performance. Same thing with UW from Verizon. I think the results will get more in line as Verizon expands their UW footprint, both in raw coverage, or POPs as the carriers like to talk about it, but also in the sense of the amount of spectrum on air as they get access to it. That being said, There is one potential factor that might make it go the opposite direction, and that's dependent on the carriers, and that has to do with the plans themselves. I.e., what I'm going for here is if we see the carriers get more strict with their network management, or they introduce plans that are more affordable but aren't quality plans and have hard throttles, like the new T-Mobile one that was rumored to be talked about, or AT&T's lower entry start basic start plan, or whatever they're calling it, and that becomes the lowest common denominator for what consumers are using to run their speed test, then that might skew the results in a negative direction, and we might end up seeing reports that show slower results despite there being more capacity on the network.
Moose, what do you think about the showing here from the carriers, man? T-Mobile way ahead, pretty much double the speed of the other two. I don't know. What's your take, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. When you start scrolling down, even though T-Mobile has a significant lead, right, in deploying their N41, there are still some areas where they don't win, which is really surprising. For example, give it up to Tampa, Florida. Verizon has beat T-Mobile with less spectrum on air, and they have majority just millimeter wave, right? A little bit of a C-band. Give it up to Detroit, Michigan. Verizon has beat T-Mobile. Give it up to LA. Verizon has beat T-Mobile.
Okay, so Moose, you want to look at states?
Yeah, like the way that I see it is like this.
Cities.
T-Mobile has had such a lead, and it's now the 2nd year anniversary, right? Right? It's the 2nd year anniversary of their merger from Sprint. They should be dominating. They should be dominating. If they're not dominating, there's a problem. For example, give it up to San Francisco, Sacramento. Verizon has beat T-Mobile. I love it. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? T-Mobile is about to get smoked by the end of this year because their lead is going to crumble. It's done.
This is unusual. So, like, I've been to many states over the course of the last couple of years, and like T-Mobile's has improved incredibly. Like their network is almost recognizable compared to how it was 5 years ago. All right, so I have to say, like, that is 100% true in my experience and with the data when we look at it. But AT&T is not even on this list. And AT&T may have the most uniform capacity from an experience standpoint in the entire state of Ohio, as well as the surrounding states like Pittsburgh and Michigan. So I can, like, how the heck is US Cellular?
Oh,
You know, like in Madison, I guess because they're
Madison.
the regional guys, you know, like, okay, so that kind of makes sense. But there's no AT&T in any of these states, any of these cities mentioned.
Yep.
That's
AT&T
crazy.
actually does have one state that I saw. I think it was
No, these are
Southwest.
cities, Dennis. Cities.
Oh, cities.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
nothing in the top 100. So that's weird, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't argue with their data. Their data is what it is. I don't think they're looking to fudge anything. I just find it shocking, you know. Let's actually scroll back to some of these other metrics here. There's some good stuff in this.
But do you agree though that the 2-year lead
Moose,
is
it's
going
a
to crumble?
5G. The merger was a 5G stimulus.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
100%.
this. I'm going to say this real quick. The fact that T-Mobile has such a lead and they are where they are is actually kind of disappointing, to be honest.
Woo! Hot, spicy take alert. Hot, spicy take alert.
I'm just saying, because look, Verizon, not even a full year yet, already has more UW coverage in Pittsburgh than T-Mobile has. Sneed, you saw it.
Wait, hold up. Dennis, it's not even been a year. It hasn't even been 6 months.
I know.
It hasn't even been 3 months.
If
you're realistically thinking about it, the deployment of C-band started December, maybe some in November, right? But it's not even been a full 4 months.
I know. Verizon literally has more ultra wideband coverage in Pittsburgh than T-Mobile does, and it's not even been a year.
We have let's do some latency here. They're all pretty close. T-Mobile 31 millisecond, Verizon 31, AT&T 34. None of them distinguish themselves in that way. You're not going to notice anything different between those three scores. But yeah, T-Mobile and Verizon at 31. And then there's a consistency metric here. T-Mobile the most consistent, 88%. Verizon at 84%. AT&T at 82%.
Please remember that their consistency score is a measurement of whether or not you could get 5 meg down and 1 meg up.
Yeah, I'd love to see the consistency score for the state of Ohio or the city of Cleveland because
what I'm going for here is that all of the carriers in my book failed. There's no reason why any of those carriers shouldn't have like 100% with that type of benchmark.
This was the same thing I was saying about the cable and the fixed internet stuff. Like, I don't understand how it's in the 80s. It is nuts.
Like I said, there was more variables there. Like, you had Verizon who has DSL. We don't know if they were measuring DSL or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. Here is the 5G median download speed. T-Mobile 191, Verizon 107, AT&T 68. I think this is just an extension of the 5G build, right? Kind of like the same situation we saw with the overall networking. So no shock there. 5G availability, T-Mobile at 65%, AT&T at almost 50%, Verizon at 28%. So T-Mobile has double, right?
Nate, I wanted to mention this. Yesterday, I went to my local store, and there was this gentleman who I could tell was kind of confused, right? Like what was going on, etc. And then he asked one of the representatives, "Is there anybody in Spanish? Is there anybody that speaks Spanish?" And the lady was like, "I don't speak Spanish, but I'll try to get somebody." He was waiting for a good 15 minutes. Nobody approached him because only one guy spoke Spanish. When I approached the guy and I started asking him, like, what exactly are you looking for? Blah, blah, right? He explained that he's had bad experience with Metro. That's why he's here to get prepaid AT&T. And then I started asking him, like, okay, so are you having this problem just at your house or at work, or what's the problem? He's like, no, this is everywhere. And I scrolled down to Dallas, right? In these cities, speed means nothing, man. If you can't make calls, if you don't have connectivity all the time, it's ridiculous, man.
So I want to ask a quick question while we're on this little part of the report. Steed, do you find that 2/3 of the time you're actually connected to 5G?
Yeah, like 5G, like between the UC and the regular 5G, it's probably close to that. Yeah.
Do you find that 50% of the time you're actually connected to 5G on AT&T?
I turn 5G off.
Okay. And
so because here's the thing, man. Like in my opinion, connecting the 5G doesn't mean anything when 2 of the 3 carriers have been stuck with DSS, right? Because they haven't had spectrum auctioned for them to actually build mid-band. The other thing to this is very simple. I've run many 5G speed tests when connecting to N71, and I'm getting sub 10 megabits per second. So, like, what has it meant to me for the last couple of years until we got actual mid-band 5G? It's meaningful now, but I didn't want to connect to it when it was just N71 or DSS. You know, I don't want it.
And then the last one, Verizon. Do you feel like you're only connecting to Verizon 1/4 of the time? 5G?
On 5G, it's most of the time.
That's what this is what I'm going for with this. Verizon, on paper, definitely has the smallest footprint as far as like square miles of actual 5G coverage. However, in reality, when it comes to like where I'm going, how often am I connecting? If I had to like rearrange the order here, I would definitely say T-Mobile still at the top. I definitely see 5G because of, like you talked about, N71. But for me, Verizon, I would say I'm probably seeing Verizon at least 70% of the time 5G. And in AT&T, same deal. I would probably say I see AT&T 5G at least 60% of the time.
And the percentage of time isn't meaningful unless it's better than the LTE. If it's not better than LTE, then the savvy, network enthusiast is thinking, I'm turning off 5G and I'm just going to roll with LTE. I mean, half the time I'm on Verizon. If I turn off the DSS, if I turn off 5G, I'm connecting to CBRS, and I'm gonna connect to like 80 megahertz of bandwidth, and I'm gonna get like 500 megabits a second or something crazy, or
You
six,
can't even
700.
turn it off on the Galaxy S22 anymore. They turn off that
You can't
setting.
go into LTE only.
Nope.
Oh, no kidding.
No kidding.
That kind of sucks, dude. Because if it's like a small cell, a CBRS small cell, you want to get on that.
Okay, quick question. 2 questions. Number 1, do you believe that iOS 16 that's coming out starting this summer will forego the option for you to toggle LTE or 5G?
Yes.
I mean, don't you think it's a little bit early to give up
Nope.
that control?
Nope. I agree with Dennis on this one. I've had people tell me internally, Apple, Manzana, they are already telling me that that's on the roadmap, my dog.
They're gonna get rid of the
It's not.
toggle.
It's not on the roadmap. It's F it. It's confirmed. It's confirmed. I'll
They're
just say
getting rid of the toggle,
No
They're
toggle.
they're getting rid of the toggle.
so it's gonna
No
default
toggle.
5G when it's available.
Yes.
Well, I hope Verizon is able to move CBRS to N48 because that CBRS is special.
Now, here's another question. Okay, here's another question. Do you believe that the Q2 report will dethrone T-Mobile by Verizon
No.
in a significant amount of markets?
Oh,
I said significant amount of markets.
in market, so city specific.
Yeah, city specific. Yeah,
City specific, maybe.
I am almost willing to bet money.
Let's get there in a second. Let me just
Yeah,
wrap up
go
this
ahead,
part, and
go
then we'll
ahead.
look at the cities. 5G consistency score: T-Mobile at 80%, Verizon 79, AT&T at 67. I'm surprised by this because I'm pretty sure Open Signal gave AT&T the number 1 ranked 5G reliability. So, I don't know. I'm not sure. Phone wise, fastest phone is the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. No surprise there. Yeah, Galaxy Z Fold 3 came in next. The iPhones came in just a little bit slower. The 13 Pro Max, the 13 Pro, and then the Galaxy S21 Ultra comes in last. So those are the faster phones. The uplink is faster. The downlink is faster. The median latency, also a little bit lower on the Galaxies. Samsung and Apple, that's probably the only type of data that they can get. So whatever. Chipset wise, okay. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, the fastest in median download speed, except Tensor. And this is what I was telling Carlos. The uplink on my Pixel has been really good compared to my iPhone, right? So, but the iPhone is represented here, right? What is the most recent iPhone? Is it the
13
X60?
Pro Max. Oh yes, it's the X60. Yeah, it's the X60.
Okay, so it's represented within this body of data. And then the Snapdragon 888, that would be what
The
same year.
No, the Snapdragon 8. Oh yes, the Snapdragon 8. Yeah, that's X60. Yep.
Okay, and then the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 would be phones from this year, right?
And that would be the 865 inside for the modem.
Okay, all right. So, and then you have last year's iPhones with the X55 way far behind. This, you know what this tells me, Moose? If you really want to be on the cutting edge, you need a new phone. These newer modems are better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chipsets are better. Yeah, they're more powerful.
Take advantage of promotions, everybody. There's no reason for you not to take advantage of free money.
Yeah,
can I come in with another spicy take real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, while I love upgrading and it's all well and good, I think it's kind of bogus that the carriers, like the X60, right? Great modem. I don't think anybody can argue otherwise. Has plenty of capabilities. Some that aren't even being utilized by any carrier within the US and probably never will. The fact that we're expecting people that are using their phones for 2 to 3 years to have to upgrade every single year just to actually see some realistic gains from 5G to me is kind of silly. I feel like, this is my hot take, but I feel like when network designs are being put in mind, there should be some way to make the benefits be spread across the board. Like, i.e., for example, if cable decides to add on more spectrum towards their DOCSIS channels, right? everyone gets the benefit, even if you have an older modem that can't support, say, 32 channels. Well, because there's 16 new fresh ones that just got opened up in your market, your modem can still decide to connect to those other 16 that are less congested than the 16 that other people are getting locked onto. In the same way, I feel like carriers can probably do something creative with the frequencies where, if this is the type of phone, allow them a sliver of 20 megahertz M41, 40, 60, 80, 100, so on and so forth. I feel like there's ways they can get creative, Or am I just kind of yelling at
No,
this guy?
I think there's something to that. What do you think about this, Dennis? These states, the fastest states for mobility. You see any connection to fiber availability, man?
I do.
Getting that fiber at the backhaul to tower sites?
I do, especially with Utah having Utopia.
I mean, you got Massachusetts and New York, New Jersey. We saw them on the last list, right, with the fixed broadband. I see Minnesota, don't you know? They're on there. DC, Rhode Island, these are places that scored really well in traditional ISP. So to me, that means infrastructure, backbone is there, right? And yeah, I don't know. Let's see who rounds out the top 10 here in the top 25. Delaware, Michigan, PA's in there in the top 15. Ohio's number 17. California surprisingly at 20. I thought they would have been a little bit better than that, but I guess their population is pretty dang dense. And then California is interesting because they have densely populated cities and then they have like wilderness, right? Like forestry and stuff like that. So, and a lot of hills and topography challenges. The Dakotas are in the top 25. That's kind of a pleasant surprise. Let's use the worst. Mississippi, Nebraska, Wyoming, Alaska, West Virginia. All right, so some of these places, like I don't get why Vermont's not better because they were mentioned as being one of the places with the best ISPs. So that's kind of shocking. Wireless carriers aren't doing much there. But yeah, like some of the stuff like Mississippi, it's infrastructure. Nebraska, it's just not good there. Let's see what else we got here for data. Oh, cities. Let's do what is it? Let's do our hometowns, shall we? Pittsburgh, PA, number 13 in the country. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Cleveland, where are we at, man? We in here? Sheesh, man, I'm starting to move down. We cracked the top 50. We're at number 47.
Hey, before you go down to the next city real quick, can I just point out something that I find interesting?
Yeah, man.
So if you look at Pittsburgh, T-Mobile won it again on Ookla's report. However, with I think it was Open Signal's report, Pittsburgh was marked as the fastest city for AT&T overall, if you remember.
Yeah. Fresno, California, 99, dude. Wow.
And then Ohio, isn't that like Verizon territory for you? You've told me that Verizon doing a pretty bang up.
Traditionally, like the last, like they've had the coverage, but like, like AT&T kicked it up with the FirstNet and the upgrades, man. Like for every, so like you can go anywhere in Ohio and Verizon has you covered. But like if you're running speed tests, like AT&T impresses, like you're getting 100, 200, 300 megabits sometimes in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, how? And the site's 2 miles away and you're connecting to 5 carrier aggregation and you're getting like 280 down and you're getting 30 up 2 miles from the site. You're connecting to band 30. You're connecting to band 14. You got all this spectrum and they're putting good fiber to these sites.
Well, the reason why I reference Verizon specifically is because they got the double whammy. They got incredible millimeter wave coverage out where you're at. Just phenomenal millimeter wave. And now they got C-band. I'm surprised that Verizon didn't win your city. I mean...
Oh, you mean in terms of Cleveland?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure what their metric was. Wasn't Cleveland ranked 47 or something here? T-Mobile at 207. Yeah, man. I'm kind of surprised. I mean,
it literally doesn't make sense.
T-Mobile's okay. So like here in Cleveland, where they have N41, it's fast. Your average N41 site, if you test just like random sites, right? You're probably upwards at about 400 megabits a second. So it's fast. I don't really see many sites going beyond a mile. So that sort of like brings down the experience a bit. Like you got to be pretty close. It's better today than it was last year. There's more of it today than there was last year. So it's improved a lot. My concern is that it's not, I don't know. It's probably close, Dennis. Verizon's probably right there. Maybe T-Mobile is the fastest and just Verizon second. And I don't know. I'm actually surprised that AT&T could have been number one. I bet you they're really close. I don't know if I can get like a detailed itemized breakdown of the city.
Let me just say this, okay? If you look at the top 10, okay, none of them are the top 10 other than Chicago cities, right?
St. Paul, Tampa, those aren't huge,
right.
Massive markets, right?
So if you look at where the top city is, right? New York, right? Let's see if we can find it here.
I got it.
Yeah. If you go to New York,
Boston's right there.
Yeah. In 1 second. There it is. Yeah, there it is. Where is it? Anyway, so yeah, New York, okay? The median download, so that's literally the middle, is at 93.88. Okay, and the upload is at 18.9. And T-Mobile's median download is at 120. Keep in mind, T-Mobile has been expanding New York City like nuts. They have mmWave, they have N41, they have everything there. They got DAS systems and all this stuff. And we're barely at middle. The middle is literally 120. It's not good enough. Well, I agree with Dennis.
There's one other city that really surprised me considering that I was there. That's Las Vegas. When I was in Vegas, okay, I told Carlos straight up T-Mobile was great there. But you know who impressed me and made me have to swallow my words was Verizon. Verizon in Vegas was basically like AT&T in Pittsburgh, okay? Their LTE was basically consistently getting like 100 meg plus. Their 5G, their DSS 5G was actually good. And mmWave / C-band was pretty darn good. I mean, the C-band, literally, remember, I was there before it was even live.
So it was just all over the place, the hardware.
Yes, and it was already there. So I am surprised that Vegas wasn't basically a Verizon market. Like, especially when you think about where all that mmWave is along the strip and the places that matter, and what T-Mobile's performance was when it came to the strip and all the congestion that would concur along with that. It's just surprising to me.
You know what I hope? This is my hope for all of this. I hope the carriers take this type of stuff personally, man. I hope that like AT&T sees this and they feel disrespected and they feel like we're falling off and we need to kick it up a notch. I hope Verizon sees this and says, T-Mobile's kicking our you-know-what. We need to get it into gear. And Verizon's working fast too. And now I'm starting to see AT&T crews also, and I'm seeing gear go up. I hope that they see these reports and they take it personal. And it just ramps up the expenditure and it ramps up the permitting process and the builds and the optimization. And they just constantly feel pressure to outperform each other. I hope they kill each other for customers. I hope they kill each other to win reports. I don't care. You know, I'd like to see more parity in more places.
Hey, so Sneed, there's one person we haven't talked about throughout this whole entirety of the conversation. It's a 4-letter word known as Dish.
Yeah.
When Dish goes live, okay, because like, you're the Dish optimist,
right?
When Dish goes live, where do you see them falling on this report?
I think Dish is
dinner is ready.
All right, we'll wrap up the show, Yasmin. I think Dish is going to be fast because I don't think there's going to be many users on the network, and they have a lot of spectrum. You know that Dish has more spectrum than T-Mobile and Verizon before the C-band and before N41?
Yes, I did know that.
So they're not going to have 80, 90, 100 million users. Yasmin, stop. So, okay, I'll do it for you. I got you. Yeah, so they're not going to have that sheer amount or volume of users. So my expectation is it's going to be pretty fast, man. You know,
And I'm going to make a
I think their
prediction, too.
uplinks are going to be the best.
And I'm going to make a prediction as well, real quick. I bet you money that Dish has the lowest ping times.
Yeah, the latency. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
But-
Yasmin, we're done. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, you win. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Big shout out to Dennis and Moose. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate everybody for the super chats. Hashtag Ravioli Gang for this guy. Hashtag 2Live Crew. Hashtag Mod Squad. Hashtag Replay Crew. For everybody that donated, thank you very much. I appreciate all the support. Everybody in the live chat, we appreciate you as well. Anything for the good of the order, Dennis and Moose?
No, I just want to thank you as always for having me on the show. And Yasmin, if you can hear us, you know, you're always going to win against dear old dad over there.
And we're going to wrestle later, right, Yasmin?
There's only one thing I want to say, Chacha.
Yeah, we got to wrestle, dog.
There's only one thing I want to say, Chacha.
Just yelling. All right, we out this piece. They're yelling at me now. All right, guys.
It's coming. It's coming. Just wait. Just wait. I'm telling you, it's coming.
See you guys.